All still getting there. I can see 1, 2. The G trying to put it around as well. She's putting down back. Think about
G'day punters, welcome back to the MacBet NRL review video. We've had a massive first 2 rounds, and joining me again is Cory France. Cory, you're fresh off a golden slipper visit and a massive fill up. How are you feeling, mate?
Yeah, it was a bit of a dusty hangover yesterday morning, but no, it's good when the other results fall your way, so it makes it all a little bit better. So
Absolutely.
yeah, no, good.
Yeah, helps when you win. That can pretty much cure any hangover, but it's not always so easy to win. But last round went massive. You've risked 37.3 units. You got 32.2 profit, 86.5% profit on turnover. That's definitely one of the biggest weeks we've probably had even at MacBet ever. You're up 39 units for the season so far. It just feels funny yelling out these numbers after 2 rounds. You couldn't be pleased with how you've gone there, mate.
It's gone good, mate. It's gone good, and definitely don't expect that to obviously happen all the time. And even winning at 10% is pretty amazing. So
Sure.
no, we're going to ride the wins with the losses, and just got to keep the wins. Hopefully, there's more than the losses, I guess. So no, it's going good so far, though.
Yeah, really good to see, and yeah, it always helps to get some runs on the board early. This will be your 3rd season with us. You've had 2 profitable seasons before that. Only just got in front last year, but that was also good to see. But what do you think? What's changed this year? I know we've talked about the player prop markets back, and that really seems to be your bread and butter. You're not really playing into the head-to-head markets that much. What's changed?
No, well, I guess hadn't really even touched many of the head-to-heads at all, even week 1, and then obviously a few little margin bets there last week. In terms of, I guess, the match outright betting, we've got stuck into a few of those totals and a few of those, and they've gone our way, especially last week.
Yep.
Obviously, the game does seem to be a lot more tighter. It's sort of easier to get a better read of the game, and when the games are a bit more expansive and higher totals and that, it's sort of hard to tell how teams will play. Like, will they give up when they get under a bit of pressure, things like that. So, I guess from that aspect, I do feel like it's easier to have an opinion on a game when you know it's going to be a potentially tighter game. I guess head-to-heads and lines and things like that, they will come as they come, but you don't want to just bet on something for the sake of it. So, no, it's good so far. And I guess while we can pick off any of those player prop markets, and it seems like a few of the other bookies are starting opening up on them too. So only gives more variety there for the punters to get on.
Fantastic, mate. Well, we'll follow the same structure as last week. We'll go through each game. We'll look at the plays you had and why. We'll talk about the results and obviously the results of the match, and then we'll get some key takeaways from the round from you towards the end of the video. All right, jumping into the first game of the round, it was the Thursday night clash, Storm versus the Rabbitohs at Amy Park. This was Bellyache's 500th game, and the Storm just scraped home for him, winning 15-14 over the Rabbitohs. Cory, I'll let you chat us through the bets here and how you went.
Yeah, so it's a bit of an interesting game. Looked like it was going to be just one-sided and sort of a turn-offable at half-time there, but Rabbitohs sort of kept it closer and probably should have won it in the end. I think Latrell missed all his conversions. So, a bit of a rough one for them. And they've got a bit of a rough trot coming up. I think they've still got Roosters, Panthers as well. So, it could be 0-4 start for them. In terms of the bets there, we just the one losing bet on Pappenhausen most meters there. It seems like the last 2 weeks he's not, I guess, as involved as what he has been in the past, last year more specifically. Sort of probably going to tread carefully on if I see him pop up in any sort of most meters markets just for probably the next few weeks at least and see what happens. Maybe it's just a thing of for this game, could be a thing for the future. In terms of the other bets there, probably more so the Jai Arrow one. Got a nice little price there at 3.25. Obviously, Pappy, Latrell Mitchell had quiet games there, so that obviously sort of easy when Jairo is going to make some easy tackles there coming up against a heavily sort of dominant team in the Storm. You'd expect Jairo to sort of dominate in the middle there. So that was a nice little collect at 3.20, had the 1 unit on. Harry Grant, first game back, he got a nice little price there in the play performance mark. I think there was a play there where he made a line break, ran for about 60 metres, got the try assist. There's about 20 points in total just on that one play alone. And he probably played less minutes than I thought he would, so I expect that to probably increase in the coming weeks. And obviously plenty of tackles there as well. So he was too good for Cook and Murray, and a bit of an off night for Murray, obviously injury concern there. And obviously the Latrell unders went up there as well. So first game back for him from the suspension. And I'm probably sure you'll find he'll have some bigger scores later in the year, probably against the easier sides. So.
Okay, moving along to the second game of the round. The Friday afternoon match was the Dragons and the Panthers. Panthers won here 20-16. It was a little bit of a tough watch in the second half for us with our unders bet, but we managed to get away with it.
Yeah, it was definitely sort of almost conceding defeat at halftime there. I think it was 12 minutes to go in the first half, and it was still only 6-0. And Sewer gets sin bin, and then just unravels from there, and Penrith put on 20. So it sort of it sucked. And then obviously there was a sin bin in the second half, but that second sin bin seemed to make more resolve, and they defended well, and then it turned into an absolute grind in the end, and really wasn't even a tough watch in those sort of last few minutes in the end. So it was quite good. In terms of the game itself, I feel like that score, like we obviously had the early plays on the unders there, but that score still could have been a lot lower, obviously, for those reasons. I don't see really any other reason why it should have been probably as high as what it was. In terms of that sort of, I guess, taking Penrith at the margin and the unders, it's sort of the perfect model play when you sort of look towards an unders and you like the underdog at the line. It's just perfect position to play Penrith for 1-12 and the unders there. So
interesting.
Come up a treat there, and although it didn't look good for probably most of that early second half, it was a good little collect there in the end. There were quite actually a few player sort of performance markets I was keen to get on. They sort of opened up, I think, Thursday night. So I think a few of them got picked off in that. So we could only put on the one Michaeli Ravalawa under 40.5. That sort of reflected the dominance he had in the week before. So he wasn't obviously going to have that same sort of dominance against Penrith as what he had against the Warriors. So perfect little play there and a pretty easy watch.
So all three bets hit the line there. The red ones that have in the italics, those are the plays Corey had earlier in the week. So you'll notice some of the totals and prices might have moved. I stupidly rushed this game when I was betting. So I bet early in the week, and then I've gone and bet again on the two red plays there. And I was quite nervous, having way too much on both, but somehow found the line. There was a big sweaty watch for me.
Nice sort of collect in the end for you. It would have made the Friday a lot better, that's for sure.
Yes, I was up and about, ready for racing on Saturday, that's for sure. All right, the second game on Friday was Roosters and the Sea Eagles. The Roosters got away with a win by 14 points. They won 26-12. Corey, I'll let you talk us through the bets here.
Yeah, so probably what looked to be an absolute blockbuster didn't really eventuate. Roosters piled on a couple of quick tries, I think, in the first 10 minutes, and it was sort of never looked like returning. So, definitely wasn't the sort of game we would have wanted. But, it was always going to be a tough start for Manly to the season. They now got a bit of an easy patch, so I expect the likes of Turbo and those sort of guys to start to dominate in the next few weeks. In terms of our bets, just all the player performance bets there. And, we went the Turbo unders there. Obviously, coming up against the Roosters side, so it's going to be tough for him to be as dominant as what he has in the past, but also seems like teams are starting to sort of realise how to best handle him. I still expect he's going to have some big games, but that was definitely one to play the under 60.5. Connor Watson, obviously we went against him in the group there with Croker and in the under 43.5. He was a late switch, so he went to the bench. He ended up still playing, I think it's about 45 or some pretty decent minutes off the bench, but it was still probably under maybe at least 10, 15 minutes what I thought he would. So, so it was good to obviously play the under 43.5, picking off a bit of a stale price there, I guess you could say. Saab was in that group with Croker as well, and Saab was a bit like Ravalawa in the last match. Like coming up with the 42.5 there. We took the unders as well. Just it's not like a score that you'd maybe think that's about the line or par against the side like the Tigers or the Cowboys, but not against the Roosters, and he's not going to get that same sort of freedom. So yeah, it was good to play Croker. Croker's going to make plenty of tackles in the middle there, and yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So we got a nice price at the $3 there, and they all lobbed. So
too good. All right, moving along to the early Saturday game, the Titans and the Warriors played at Cbus Super Stadium, with the Titans getting the cash 20-18. Pretty tough sort of watch at the end though.
Yeah, well, most of these Saturday games I didn't get to catch too much. Obviously, just tied up at the slipper there, but I did catch this game earlier today to watch the replay. I did see they got a try in the first sort of minute, so I was definitely keen to see how that sort of eventuated and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was sort of a good game. Obviously, Ash Taylor was playing against his old club, so it was sort of interesting to see what they did there, where they targeted him, things like that. But yeah, what sort of seemed good stages early on for the Titans, they sort of didn't really take advantage of the chances the Warriors gave them, but they were probably lucky in the end just to hold on and take the win. But yeah, I think they're a side that probably will have more upside coming out of this. The Warriors probably can't get too much better, especially with the injuries they've got at the moment. So yeah, it's hard to sort of what to make of them while Johnson's missing. In terms of the bets, we went unders on Reece Walsh, 55.5, pretty big number. Coming up against the Titans, it's definitely not unachievable, but yeah, it's just a huge number. And I guess just the default, you sort of almost have to take the unders there. I think I priced his score at about 38.5 or something. So
yeah, wow,
about a 17 point discrepancy there. Tino, we took him in the most tackles.
Do you know what he ended up on, Corey?
On Reece?
Yeah.
No, not 100% sure, no.
All you know is it won. That's good.
That's all that matters. So no, when you balls deep into some poured espresso martinis at the slipper, I think watching how Reece Walsh was probably the last thing on my mind, to be honest. So.
Too good.
But yeah, no. So Tino, most tackles. He came up against Lodge and Fanua Blake, and probably given how deep that Titans bench is in terms of forwards, the Sone, Joel, Proctor, not generally a bet I would normally want to take, but he was a clear discrepancy against those two guys. They generally don't like to get too involved tackling wise, and yeah, so.
Well,
despite
Lodge ended up overheating and throwing up and going off, so that was an easy watch.
That's it. What was it? Blue Gatorade or white Gatorade? They're going to start taking bets on that one now.
What do you got it priced?
Well, from what I saw, it was a bit of white and a bit of blue, but probably a story for another day. So, and then yeah, in the play performance market, we took Wade Egan against Marzu and Campbell. Bit stiff on this one. Wade Egan went off. He had an absolute blinder. I think he got a try, a couple of line breaks, plenty of tackles. But Marzu obviously getting 2 tries and a line break and, yeah, plenty of meters himself. Just clinched that one in the end. Okay. Probably the big one and probably the biggest price we got for the whole week, Eli Katoa there in the group most tackles markets there. So probably the first tab group most tackles markets we've taken this year. Generally about 6 guys in those sort of markets, so you can generally get some pretty good prices.
Nice.
Just took the half unit play because I still wasn't sort of sold whether he was going to play a similar sort of role to what he did last week. Last year he was sort of very quiet, and I was even against him last week because of he's not generally that sort of player, but he played pretty much in the middle, played again in this, and that's guess why he was too strong. And yeah, $8.50 was a nice price to get in the most tackles there, and then. Yeah, obviously the early play, we took the under 47.5 and sort of early days, it didn't sort of look like it was going to lob, but yeah, just the one try in the second half. So pretty cruisy watch for the second half punters.
Too good, the unders, eh? All right, the middle game here on Saturday, it was the Sharks and the Eels at PointsBet Stadium for the first time in a couple of years, I believe. Sharks got the cash here, winning 18-16 over the Eels. Corey, I'll let you chat us through this game.
Yeah, well, it's probably not that good a sign for Parramatta. They had, 87% completion, 54% possession, and still couldn't get the win. They weren't the greatest against the Titans the week before either. So I think they're on the fourth line of betting in the premiership market. It's definitely not where I would have them. Definitely need some sharp improvement in weeks to come. I think they've got Melbourne this week, so it's definitely a tough task for them. Yeah, in terms of the bets themselves, we took William Kennedy under. Sort of follows a trend of taking the fullbacks and the wingers, and that they sort of get a bit, I think, like too high priced in terms of these points that tend to have them like 5 to 10 shorter. I think that sort of has to have some sort of relation to the totals being under as well. Obviously, if the totals are going to be a lot higher, these the wingers and fullbacks are going to score obviously a lot more in these markets as well. So we've got the chockies there, but in terms of all the other markets, unfortunately, no success there. Went wide in the tab group most tackles market. Nakora and Lane were sort of nothing necessarily special. They weren't tipped to have the most tackles, but they were just value plays. Marnie and Brayley were both in those markets. Brayley had a pretty big game. I think it was about 54 tackles, something like that. And then, I guess sort of a bit of a tough one, sort of like last week where we had the two bets on the one same game. We went against Finucane with Lane and Papali in that Top Sport group most tackles market there.
Yeah.
McInnes was sort of a late add onto the bench there, so I felt like that was going to maybe have an impact on the sort of involvement that Finucane would have. So it seemed like a bit of a default play to take those two guys. Unfortunately, it didn't really affect him at all. McInnes only had 25 minutes, but I expect that to probably increase over weeks to come. But yeah, Finucane in the end had, I think it was about 42 tackles in the end, and it was pretty dominant. So yeah, not the best game, but yeah, you can always expect to have a few of those here and there. So.
All right, moving along to the late game on Saturday. It was the Cowboys up against the Raiders up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Cowboys strong, 26 over the Raiders 6. Corey, how'd you go here in this game?
Yeah, not a good result to round out Saturday. I was actually at Star Casino by about this point, and thought I think about half time, and I think it was about 8-6 or 6-4, whatever it was. The Raiders are coming back into the game, and it was going to sort of finish in our favour. But no, it was one-way traffic from that point on. And yeah, I felt like in terms of this play, similar, I guess, to that Penrith game, it was sort of a game where we expected to go unders. Sort of how the model spat it out. It's a lot harder for teams to go up there to sort of travel up to Townsville and sort of dominate like they would anywhere else. So that sort of played into the feeling that Canberra weren't going to be as dominant as what I thought they were. Definitely did not like this Cowboys, especially this Cowboys side, especially from the week before against the Bulldogs. But yeah, definitely couldn't take them with too much confidence, but thought they had enough just on default just to get the job done and take the win. So 1-12 did come up as a nice sort of option there at 3-10. And then, yeah, obviously with the model spinning out a little bit lower, the margin unders, and unfortunately, yeah, it just didn't go our way, even though it sort of, I felt like the mindset was definitely in the right place. It was always going to be a tough ask, and it was obviously in the end as the Cowboys got the win. Obviously coinciding with that, it's harder for Nickel Clockstad there, obviously, to dominate too much at the back and get plenty of meters, things like that. So, yeah, it was always going to be a tough ask in the end. I think it was Tabby Waifado that beat him in that market. So we no good there. And then, yeah, Tomalolo, obviously, yeah, it's sort of a tough one. Not one I was too keen to, I guess, play, but sort of Whitehead's not one to sort of dominate these sort of markets. He plays a sort of an edge role, and Robson obviously with Granville on the bench. I don't know. It's just one that I felt like he could have probably played a lot less than what he did. I think he played 70 minutes in, and I probably had him pitch it down for about 50-55. So yeah, we didn't. It wasn't so much that Tomalo didn't go too good, but it was just not good enough for the $3.30 there. So. Yeah, a bit of a strip out, but yeah, not onwards to Sunday.
For sure. And how'd you go there at the casino? What's your go-to, mate? I know you like the chalky wheel at the Gold Coast with all the you like back at the lifeguard each way or something.
The lifeguard and the roller coaster.
Yeah, I'm usually a big Gold Coast hinterland punter myself, but how'd you go down at the casino?
Yeah, well, every time I touched the blackjack table, it was curtains. But yeah, when I went to the 3-card poker table, it was coming up diamonds, and yeah, no, I walked out there with a few letter sleeves, so it was pretty good.
Too good. That's the staple there on the Gold Coast for Magic Millions weekend. The 3-card poker. I'm already excited for next year. Right, moving along to the early Sunday match. It was the Knights and the Tigers at McDonald Jones Stadium. The Knights won 26-4 over the Tigers. Corey, I'll let you chat us through the bets, mate.
Yeah, I almost didn't think we were going to have any bets in this game at first. It was a bit of a horror story early on Sunday. I arrived at the airport and my luggage had been sent elsewhere. So it was a few expletives come out at the not at the staff. I wouldn't do that. But
don't lie. You've done your suitcase at the blackjack table somehow, haven't you?
No, it fortunately arrived early this Savo, so everything restored. But no, in terms of the game itself, it was sort of one-way traffic in terms of betting towards the Tigers late there. Obviously, Ponga was out, Clemmer was out, and everyone thought maybe the Knights' lucky run was going to come to an early end. And unfortunately, they were just far too good for the Tigers. And surprised Maguire probably even still has his job. I think I just read an article a short time ago that Sheen still stands by him. So it's just funny, but. Obviously Knights are now 2-0 and obviously doing it without their stars. So, it's sort of interesting. They got Penrith this week, so that'll be obviously the ultimate litmus test as to how they go. In terms of this match, we took Simpkin in the most tackles against the two sort of middle forwards there. He sort of had a bit of a quiet game last week, but done enough this week at least. He comes off early for like Tyrone Peachy in these sort of games, but obviously Tyrone had his little stint in the sin bin and sort of threw a few little things out there as well. So he probably played maybe extra 5-10 minutes, things like that, but still was too good for those two boys in that market. Momolo, he had a dominant game last week. I think that was sort of like the Ravalawa bet sort of factored in terms of that number being probably as high as what it is. He was never really much of a factor in this, even though he's still coming up against what I would consider a mediocre side. And definitely didn't really trouble the scoring there. And Luke Brooks, probably like Tom Malolo, not a bet I really want to be throwing units around. I was happy for one. It seemed like a good play at 340, but Gagai was the nemesis there. He's sort of winding back the clock a bit. It's like he's got a State of Origin jersey on the underneath the Knights jersey.
Yep, absolutely. He's flying.
So, we're a bit stiff there, but we got the 2 wins at least. So,
all right, last match of the round. This one's a cracker to review. It's the Bulldogs and the Broncos. The Broncos got the cash 16-10 over the Dogs, and we absolutely filled our boots here on the bets. Corey, I'll let you take it away, mate.
Yeah, no, it was good to finish the round strong, but 6 from 6 was pretty good. So obviously, well, first and foremost, good to see the Broncos get up, and wouldn't be shocked if they went 3-0 after playing the Cowboys this week. So it could be a good start for them. They might as well just be about premiership favourites after Sunday. But to be honest, it was sort of weird. You got a couple of sides there. One's wooden spoon last year, one's wooden spoon the year before, and probably borderline game of the round. Like it was a cracking sort of defensive contest. Both sides put in real good effort. Obviously, Burton was good for the Bulldogs. So, real good game to watch and great for Sunday footy, I guess. So, I guess in terms of our bets, so obviously Broncos got the win, but they definitely didn't dominate the possession. So, we were sort of very good in terms of obviously Turpin and Capewell having tackles bets on them. You obviously want to be lower possession in terms of those sort of markets. Kurt Capewell obviously being in the tab one there, so obviously there was 5 other guys, but I think amongst all those guys, they had it pretty even. So I think Kurt was probably the only one standout in that, and he came up at about 350 or something about there. So 650, nice little price to take, and I think he cleared it by about 2 or 3 tackles there. Yep. Turpin, we obviously took him in the performance and the most tackles markets in that sort of a Huss Thompson market there. Luke Thompson was obviously a late, sort of not out, but a late drop back to the bench there. So we obviously took him in the under 55.5. That was an easy decision there. In terms of the group there, it was sort of an obvious one that he was going to obviously have less tackles, but saying that he came on pretty early anyway with, I think TBJ played about 10 minutes before hitting the pine. And then, obviously Haas doesn't really defend too much in the middle there. He's obviously saves his better work for when he gets the ball in hand. in terms of the performance group, with Jake Turpin there, obviously come up against Albert Kelly and Josh Adokar. Josh Adokar still probably spitting out numbers like he is at Melbourne. 35.5, I think, came in from, 42.5 last week.
Wow.
So
Yep.
sort of catching on a little bit there, but still probably a little bit too high. And Albert Kelly's not really one of these sort of games unless he absolutely opens up in a high-scoring game where he gets a lot of try assists, things like that. So Turpin's defence there was enough to get him over the line. Obviously, the Josh Adokar, Luke Thompson bets unders are sort of self-explanatory there. And obviously, we had the early bet there on the margin and the unders. Sort of wasn't really a game where I thought necessarily Brisbane would win 1-12 or necessarily be under 40.5, but sort of just a great double play there to put those two together. If it's going to be a tight game, we saw how Bulldogs were the week before, struggle to score, things like that. And Brisbane haven't really shown much better themselves. However, there obviously was a little bit concerned there, like, does TBJ come out and start throwing a few haymakers and end up in the sin bin, and then the game just opens up wide. Jack Hetherington's a bit of a loose head himself as well. So definitely a game that could have easily just opened up and turned into 50, 60 points, potentially even. But no, went as planned, and nice little collect there amongst all the other bets. So,
yep, outstanding work. All right, that concludes our game-by-game review of round 2 of the NRL. Obviously, like we spoke about, a great round for us, picking up the 32 units at 87%. Corey, you'd be happy. Don't change anything into next week. But yeah, what's a couple of things we learned that round?
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of some of the teams that are sort of losing, I guess we're now seeing the Rabbitohs and Manly both go 0-2. I guess from a perspective of how I see those two teams, definitely not writing them off in any way.
Okay.
I expect those two teams to still obviously be thereabouts, and even some of the sort of the better teams that are performing well, like sorry, not the better teams, but the worst teams that are performing well, like Cowboys and even Knights. I still feel like come the end of the season, it will get tougher for them. So I'm not too concerned in terms of early results as to how I see everything from a futures perspective. In terms of obviously the games and how they're being played themselves, obviously we've seen 15 and 1 in terms of unders, and I think that's on closing lines, and obviously 14-2 opening lines. But I do see the game sort of getting a bit tighter. It's actually good footy to watch. I do feel like those totals will come in a little bit, but you can't bring him in too much, sort of like what we saw last year with the totals going out, because it doesn't take much for those games to get past, say, 30, 32. So, I don't expect them to come in too much, but I expect them to maybe come in a trial here or there. So.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it was a great round for us, and thanks for your review there, Corey. Guys, if you want to get Corey's info, make sure you head to macbet.com.au. The service is finally up on the site, $50 per week, quite reasonable, considering how much information you're going to get with those sheets. And, well, yeah, first 2 rounds quite profitable. So hopefully you can sort of make your $50 back there quite quickly. And also, of course, anyone who's a weekly or a monthly tip sheet or platinum subscriber with MacBet, they get the NRL service included in their subscription for free. So have a look around there on the site, guys, if you're interested. Even send me a message. But if not, get involved in our Discord. Free to join. We post a couple of little race comments up there and tips, and also a couple of NRL plays here and there. Of course, after we make sure everyone who's paid gets first bite of the apple there with the early prices, etc. But if you want to get some info, head to our Discord. Good spot to chat to the team, chat to the boys, and have a bit of a whinge as we saw on Friday night.
No, there's always a bit of banter flying around, and it's just good that way. And I guess it's good to obviously let everyone know as soon as possible when things are sort of happening and stuff like that. It's just an easy way to communicate, but also good to throw a little bit of a shade here and there. So.
Absolutely, guys. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, Corey, for your time. Good luck next round, mate.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.